Hey man, welcome! This is Pod Crashed. It's the podcast that can be a bit of a train wreck. Almost every week, your hosts, Anna and April, they talk to their guests about life, liberty, and the pursuit of all things random. I hope you enjoy the next hour.
If you don't enjoy the next hour, you're lame!
Shut up, and sit down.
We should do a podcast. It's called Three Batmans. And it's just whatever topic we want to discuss, but doing it as a Batman impersonation. Well, the socioeconomic structure's just in trouble now. You're just like, it's like NPR, only with just Batman voices.
I told her.
I'm Batman. Batman PR? I don't know. I'm sure there's a pun in there somewhere.
There's a cold air front coming down from Canada. Watch out, Northern Michigan.
By the way, I'm Batman.
Yeah, just every once in a while reminding them.
This is Batman.
Signing off.
Starting off.
This is Bruce Wayne. I mean,
Batman.
This is Batman.
Over to you, Batman.
There's a really funny, Cracked Online did a really funny skit a couple years ago where it's these girls at a slumber party. And obviously they're all adult women who write for the magazine, but there's supposed to be these young girls at a slumber party, and they're Gotham citizens. And they're like, who do you like? Well, I think this person's really cute, and blah, blah, blah. And the one's like, you know who I think's really cute? Batman. And they're like, yeah, we all like Batman. She's like, you know what I've been thinking, though? I think he might be Bruce Wayne, that millionaire who owns all those companies. And they go, what? And she goes, yeah, think about it, blah, blah, blah. And then, like, this police officer comes in her room, and it's like the idea that like this little girl figures it out, and so they have to usher her away, like, because he looks at the mom, and he's like she's become aware, and he's like, the whole idea is everyone in town knows it's Bruce Wayne, but they all humor him because he's really rich, and he like helps the town as Batman. But she's like, no, but I have to, and they're like, no, you can't tell him. But she's like, what are you gonna do with her, officer? He's like, well, we have a place for women, like people like her. So like take the child away because she knows who Batman is.
We just got done watching Full Metal Alchemist, and just there's so much violence in it that my first thought was like the policeman come in and just like shot the little girl.
If it wasn't for a comedy website, I'm sure that's how it would have ended.
That's how a lot of things end today, unfortunately.
They just bust in and shoot him. Okay. You want to get started?
Yeah, let's do it.
Welcome.
Welcome.
Velkommen.
Bienvenue. Welcome.
Y tu, mama tambien.
Nos con la tortuga.
Our guest today is Shane. Yay.
Hi, Shane.
Hello.
Welcome back.
Thank you for having me again.
He's here with his pants on. Just living life.
That's right. Might be a little late, but I'm here.
That's okay. We'll be all right. When you just live like just around the corner too, so.
Yeah, it didn't take any time.
Yeah. So, we were supposed to be joined by you and Lance, but Lance apparently does not own a calendar.
He's so forgetful. To be fair, I also forgot.
That's true, but you just happened to be home and
But
he didn't.
I just happened to be home and
He's
he did.
disc golfing?
Yeah, he's one of those people.
Disc golfers.
Yeah. He likes to walk around outside in the sunshine, whereas I'm like, oh, the sun, recoil.
Right? You want to actively go out into nature?
Not unless I'm in water.
Right?
No thank you.
It's one thing if it's like a woods, but when it's like right in the sun in a park where other people are going to be.
Yeah. Bugs.
That's right.
And then there's physical activity go along with it because you got to throw things and walk. It's walking and throwing, which I am not a fan of either of those.
It's literally a game of playing fetch with yourself because you throw it.
Then you go get it.
And then you go get it.
So disc golf or self-fetch, it's like you don't even enjoy the company of a dog.
Exactly.
Right.
I think it would be better if it included dogs more
Right.
often. Maybe more would be out of shelters. Listen to this, shelters.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Making some points.
That's right. Just rent a dog.
Getting
at
it
disc
real.
golf.
Bringing it.
It'd be more interesting because you throw the disc, the dog
Yeah.
would get it and take you to like a better spot.
Yeah.
Where you threw it.
Yep.
Maybe something it buried earlier.
Yeah.
If you're lucky.
The disc golf courses would just be riddled with animal shit everywhere.
There'd be someone on each hole
Yeah.
there to pick up anything that would happen.
Yeah.
That'd be their job.
They'd have those bags, like little things everywhere. Clean up after your dog with some bags. Like, hey, bitch, we know you forgot. You coincidentally forgot your bags or whatever. So here's some.
bags, yeah.
So now you have no excuse to just clean up after your dog.
Having had your own dog, I will say that it's one thing to like clean up your own dog's poop. It's another thing to be like taking a friend's dog for a walk and have to clean up their dog's poop. It's like cleaning up your own kid's poop versus cleaning up like someone else's kid's poop.
Yeah.
There's a line there,
I
people.
barely like to do it for something that I'm responsible for, but when it's someone else that,
Exactly.
Well, you take out your sister's dogs.
I've claimed them as my own by now.
Well, probably because you clean up so much poop, you got some stink
Yeah.
in there. You're like,
That's how emotions are built.
yeah.
Just
I
cleaning
clean up its
crap.
poop.
I've cleaned up enough poop where they are officially mine. Right? You can feed them and keep them, but they're mine.
Right.
Well, when it ever comes to the divorce, just use that
Yeah.
as your argument.
Just tell her one day.
Yeah.
Just tell her one day you're gonna watch them, and when she shows up at your house, you're not there anymore. Like how people kidnap their own
Yeah.
children.
Just kidnap the dogs.
Yeah. It'd be worth it. You would be just faking your own death and changing your identity so you can keep the dogs.
Keep the dog.
It's like a really crappy Lifetime movie.
Yeah.
Well, this kind of is funny enough. It segues into our topic at hand, which was, does this make me weird?
Perfection.
So I've come across a fair amount of like articles and like quizzes and stuff about like things that people are very curious on the internet as to like what types of things they do or their family does either now or when they were kids and how that compares to other people. Because there's a lot of things I think, not a lot, I mean, and there's things that occurred in all of our childhoods that at the time probably seemed really normal, and then later on it's mentioned and whoever you're with is like, what did your family do at Thanksgiving?
Exactly,
And
yeah.
you're like, that's when it sets in as you're an adult. Oh, maybe some of the things my family did were
weird.
really weird. So does anything come to mind for any of you guys, particularly when someone says, like, what kind of things you or your family did when you were younger, or even you yourself, like maybe things you perceived about the world or certain situations that now as an adult you think that was really weird that I thought that, or anything come to mind?
The first thing I thought was putting bread in the refrigerator.
That was a thing that I remember. I've since met people that do it, but your family was the only family I remember growing up that did it.
Yeah.
Bread in the fridge.
Your parents didn't put bread in the
No,
fridge?
did your parents put bread in the
Yeah,
fridge?
Definitely.
Yeah. I don't like cold bread.
My grandma used to feed me pinches of coffee grounds.
What?
As a kid?
On purpose? Or
Yeah.
did you like ask for them?
Yes, and I actually like still really like it. It's like eating a chocolate covered espresso bean, but just like
Yeah,
there's no chocolate.
there's something I kind of like about the grittiness of
Yeah.
it. Like I don't want to eat handfuls of it, but if I'm like drinking a cup of coffee and there's a little bit of coffee grounds at the bottom, I'm not mad. Like
Right.
it's something about the
Yeah.
little bit of gravelly taste.
And it was never like a whole lot or anything.
Yeah.
She also used to put cherry Coke in my bottle because cherry Coke is life.
Yeah, that my mom used to tell me about how there was some woman and she had a son John's age, and one day they were at they were somewhere together, and her kid was like crying, and she gave him a bottle, and it was like dark brown, and my mom's like, "What's in that bottle?" And she's like, "Oh, it's Coca-Cola." It was like it was like a 1-year-old, and she's
my
like, "You
God.
give the 1-year-old Coca-Cola?" Like,
To be fair, like I was born a long time ago. Back when we didn't know such things. It
Right.
was still the mid to late 80s.
back when they used to still let kids ride in the back of trucks without seatbelts.
I
Yeah.
did it. I've done it.
Yep,
That's something that's probably weird
down
now.
the highway, just in the back of a trailer. That's fine. We used to.
Yeah, we had an RV. We had a fifth wheel that we would pull behind, and I would ride in that sucker all the time. I'm like, you guys can ride in the cab. I'm gonna be back here by myself.
Well, my parents had that van that they pulled the back seat out of it. The red van before we had the silver one. They actively pulled the back seat out so that my dad could transport more stuff. And so I remember taking Jean up to Central, and they put a lawn chair. Not secured, just a lawn chair in the back of the van that I sat in, and every time they came to a stop or made a turn, the lawn chair would collapse from underneath me or slide across the back of the van. This was from the same parents who refused to let me ride in that school bus that we used to take to Girl Scout events.
Oh,
that was that
yeah.
old school bus that they ripped the chairs out and literally put
like
sofas
and stuff, yeah.
in. And my mom's like, no, that's too dangerous. So I had to ride in the car with your mom every time we went somewhere. And everyone else was in the van. And yeah, this is the woman who then let all these kids from the neighborhood ride in the back of the van on the floor. She got weird in her old age.
The hollowed out elephant was just the best thing to drive around in. It really was.
Yeah.
Another weird thing, I mean, I don't know if it's weird or not. I personally think that it's actually a good idea, but for Christmas, everything that we got from Santa would be unwrapped.
Okay.
So anytime that you woke up in the middle of the night to, like, see what Santa had left you, you'd go downstairs and whatever it was would be clearly for you, and it would be unwrapped and ready to play with. So if it was, like, a set of something, like, everything would be set up and put together. Or if it was, like, an action figure, it would be like out of the box and like interacting with something.
Oh, really?
And it was just really cool. So you had that one thing that you could like literally take with you back to bed.
Okay.
And then like wait for everyone else to get up.
When you started to say that and you're like, oh, it was unwrapped, I thought, oh, is it just because your parents didn't want to wrap anything? So they're like, my mom got tired of writing from Santa, so she would either just leave the Santa blank, like the from blank, and she'd be like, it's Santa, obviously. Why would he have to sign his name to everything he gives you? Or she would put from one of the animals. So it'd be like, you get a gift from the dog or a gift from the cat. And I'm like, oh, the cat knew I wanted a Barbie. That's great.
Thank you, Midnight. Shatterstar, I love my skating with.
We were watching a trailer for some upcoming, it was a Deadpool, I think. And and they're like, what's your name? And he's like, Shatterstar. And I looked at my sister, I go, is that where the dog's name came from? And Jean's like, yeah, it was one of John's favorite comic books. I was like, oh, no idea it was a character.
I had no idea either.
Yeah.
I just learned.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No problem. Anything else you can think of, April?
Growing up,
Okay.
just in general.
Just in general, like either people adjacent to you or like I'm obsessed with like when you're like the way kids think about certain things. Like I came across the list once on BuzzFeed. It was an article about like weird things that kids thought about sex when they were too young to know what sex was. And a lot of people were like, I used to think you could get pregnant, like babies came from belly buttons. And they're like, there was literally nothing that gave me this idea. It was just some weird random thing my mind generated. So is there anything like that that's kind of like the way when you were a kid you viewed something and you don't know why you viewed it that way, but that's just kind of what you thought? And you never bothered to ask if anyone else thought that? Anything?
I don't think so.
You think I knew everything?
I knew everything. I was smart.
Something came up today. The song, the ABCs, ABC that you sing in school, right? Mm-hmm. I used to think that N was in the alphabet twice because the N was W, X, Y, and Z, and I didn't know they were saying and Z, so I thought Y, N, Z. So I thought N was in the alphabet twice when I first started to learn how to read.
It's so nice you say it twice.
Right? I was like, why is N in the end again? Didn't we say it in the middle somewhere?
I remembered some creepy thing from when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Okay, so when I was a kid, this was back before cell phones, so all of you listening that don't remember that can just tune out for this segment.
Fuck you.
Grow up. When you would like pick up the phone and not dial anything, there would be a woman's voice that came on and said, "The call that you have dialed cannot be completed at this time.
Yeah, yeah.
Please hang up and try again." Mm-hmm. I don't know why or where this came from, but I was obsessively sure as a child that woman lived in the woods in a shack with a bunch of wolves.
Okay.
And if you stayed on the line and didn't hang up and heed her warning, that she would send her wolves to get you.
Wow.
And so like I was very afraid of this voice, but like as I was
don't
growing
pick up the phone unless you know you're gonna dial it.
Exactly. Like she's coming, she knows. So yeah, I was like very just concerned about that as a child, and like my parents would be like, "Oh, I got this again." And I'd be like trying to get them to hang up the phone, and I never really like questioned it, like, or was like even assumed that anyone else didn't have that idea.
Yeah.
So like in talking to my parents about it, they're like, "What the fuck?
What kind of weirdo?" Do you remember? Did you ever watch that episode of Are You Afraid of the Dark with the phone police? It's the kid, and he keeps making prank phone calls, and his older sister's like, "If you keep making prank phone calls, the phone police will come after you." And he's like, "They're not really a thing." She's like, "No, they are a thing because they got Billy Baxter." And he's like, who's Billy Baxter? And she's like, that was a boy who kept making prank phone calls, and one day he disappeared, and the phone police got him. And in the episode, he picks up the phone, and he doesn't dial anything. I think he hits the hang up button. Whatever that was called. I don't remember even now what it's called. You tap the thing.
Yeah.
And he tapped it twice, and then it went dead, and this voice came on. That always creeped me out as a kid, because it was like, hey, it's Billy Baxter. And he'd be like, I'm stuck in jail. You have to come and help me. Help me. And I was convinced that would happen if you held onto the phone too long. That Billy Baxter would, not him specifically, but somebody's creepy voice would come on. Mm. And yeah, he was like, and it was the whole time this kid's being chased by like essentially Big Brother, like men in suits who are the phone police trying to get him so he won't make prank phone calls. But that's not my fault. That was an Are You Afraid of the Dark episode that ruined it for me.
I remember thinking our house was haunted just because the bathroom door was closed. But, like, it not closed, but it would close on its own.
Okay.
But I was just dumb because it was always in the summer. And, of course, the windows in the house were open. Right. So the airflow in the house would just shut the door.
Yeah, in the country.
Oh, yeah. Well, houses make all kinds of weird fucking noises. And as you get older, you realize that it's less, like, nerve-wracking. Mm-hmm. But it's still, like, the weird noises your house makes. Like, settling. And when you're a kid, they tell you that, but you don't think about it. And then when you're an adult, I just think, oh, does that mean my house is slowly sinking into the ground? Oh, yeah. It's settling. I'm like, oh. I used to think a giant wormhole is going to open up, but that's a thing now. So that's not unjustifiable.
That's possible.
Like, you'll be in bed one day and just the floor will collapse from under you.
Yeah, sinkholes, yeah.
Oh, see.
And it's not from the amount of ice cream you've eaten, contrary to popular belief.
So I just had a couple questions that I jotted down just to kind of get things kind of conversating. Percolating in your noggin. And keep in mind, I wrote these like 2 weeks ago, so I don't even know if I knew what I meant when I don't even know what I meant when I wrote them. Okay, so nowadays, like, we're so focused on so focused on individuality. So is the idea of being weird even really a thing anymore? Like, do you think kids are like calling each other? Like, do you think it's like you can be like, oh, I'm really weird? Is that really even? Because now you have something that you think is quote unquote weird, and you can go online and find a million people that like the same thing or think the same thing.
Or that's weirder.
Yeah, that's true. Like, very true. You think you're weird.
Yeah, exactly. I personally look in the mirror and I'm like, you're a fucking weirdo.
Right?
How are you today?
Yeah.
And then I walk out in the world and I'm like, you have got no worries, buddy. You've been to Walmart
You might be the sanest person in your area. Yeah, you might be the sanest person around.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's so much going on. And just like because living normally in Jackson and doing things in Jackson where everyone is dressed in camouflage and everyone is just like there to get something and get out, and then go to Kalamazoo where like everyone has their own thing.
Yeah.
Like there's super athletic like bodybuilders pushing strollers, and then there's like some weirdo kid that looks like he just was picked up from the 70s and dropped into the room. Wearing plum pants and a mustard vest. Are
you speaking from experience with this kid?
This was a guy that I saw yesterday.
Oh, yeah. So yesterday we went to the Rock and Mineral Show at the Expo Center where there's people who sell like crystals and rock jewelry and all this kind of stuff. And you get a really interesting variety of people at something like that, because you get like hippy-dippy holistic people, but you also get like paleontology like enthusiasts,
absolutely,
geologists.
Yeah, you get all kinds of gamuts of people. I like all the jewelry. Like, I don't have any stake in the actual crystal part of it, but I like to look at pretty jewelry that shines. So
I'm a crystal queen, so that's why I go looking for something fresh. I found a really big piece of quartz yesterday. Got it for half off. Woo woo.
But you go to some of those booths and some of them will be like, you know, they'll have them all labeled with, like, what they mean and what they can do. And then other ones will just be like, yeah, it's animals and they're carved out of stone. And aren't they pretty? Like, it's...
Yeah, it's a really good combination of, this is just pretty stuff to look at.
Yeah.
And, this is the Geologic Society.
Yeah. And Paleo Joe was there. Have you ever seen Paleo Joe? He's a guy who goes around to, like, schools and libraries, and he does dinosaur-themed shows for kids where he, like, talks about paleo, you know. And he is everywhere. Anytime there's any sort of like event, he's there with his rocks and his hat and a dinosaur fossil, just chatting it up.
That sounds like my childhood.
Yeah. Do you remember going to any sort of field trip as a kid and going to the souvenir shop and always getting an arrowhead regardless of where the souvenir shop was.
Mm-hmm.
We only ever went to Binder Park Zoo.
Yeah, so you get an arrowhead.
Or a penny, a pressed penny.
Do you guys remember those
Yep.
snakes that you could like hold that just you could turn?
And
like,
they were
slightly
made of
from side to
wood,
side?
and you could pinch your hands or fingers if you held them in the center.
The ones I'm talking about are plastic. They're
Plastic,
like
yeah.
predating
Oh,
these
okay.
ones
But
even.
yeah, they...
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. They just kind of wobble from side to side. You just like turn
Yeah.
a little bit.
Yeah.
That and the like little jaws, the T-Rex.
Oh, the hand
yeah.
ones that you
Yep.
would, yeah, it's like a
Little
little
grabbers.
stick.
Exactly.
Yep.
Like the little I'm too fat to get it myself stick for kids.
Yeah, only it looked like a dinosaur head
Exactly.
on top.
Yeah.
I used to remember at the hands-on museum, I used to get they looked like moon rocks, but they were bouncy balls. But they were like, they had sides to them, so they didn't really bounce like a ball did because they weren't smooth, but they were supposed to look like moon rocks.
That's pretty cool.
Astronaut ice cream are the two. That freeze-dried package ice cream, which tastes
Could
like
never
garbage,
do.
but when you're a kid,
You're
it's
like,
like
freeze-dried
so
ice
cool.
cream.
Whoa.
And I've never met an astronaut, but I bet you that if they would tell me, they would be like, no, we don't eat this in space. And I
Yeah.
would get very upset.
This is actually what we burn for fuel.
Yeah.
We use
Just
this.
the caloric content.
We use this to clean our drains.
Yeah.
All the drains. Can anyone hear your drains in space?
Oh, I thought of something weird, kind of weird.
Yeah.
As a child, Elizabeth and I, we would have funerals
For your Barbies?
Barbies.
I knew you said Elizabeth and I immediately thought she's going to talk about funerals for her Barbies.
Literally, like we had like if something happened to the Barbie and their head popped off or something, and like you couldn't put the head back on because then their neck would be
Yeah, because they had those little
squished
plastic
or-
thingies, and if they broke the plastic thing, you could never put the head back on.
Yeah, never made it look right. So yeah, we had a spot in the yard where we would.
Hope your sister got sick from La Casa, so good.
Uh-oh.
She's oh, sorry. She just posted about her stomach's killing her, and I'm like, uh-oh. So if April has to run away in the middle of the podcast, it's because La Casa Mexicana in Albion, Michigan made them sick.
It was usually it's so good though.
That's probably whatever leftovers they
normally
had
is
from
really good.
yesterday.
It's really good. Well, I think she just ate too much probably because she said she had a big lunch and then we went to La Casa.
Yeah. Plus, if you exist on a diet of mostly McDonald's food, other food feels foreign to your body because
That's right.
it doesn't really resemble what your body's used to eating.
Yeah.
It's like those people who used to be a part of the sideshow who would eat like gravel and like bicycle parts. I bet they couldn't eat, a sandwich.
Yeah.
Their body would be like, what the hell is this?
You hear about when they were introducing some kind of new Whopper. So like Burger King went to all of these far off places like Tibet and whatnot that would never have had Burger King, and like every time someone tried one of their sandwiches, they threw up.
Oh, yeah. Are you kidding?
They had to spend
yeah.
all of this money on this campaign that totally did not pay off. They were thinking that everyone was going to be like, these are delicious. Like, how can I get them? No, everyone was like, ugh.
Yeah, you can't eat
Other people
processed.
are
If you're
not
not
used
used
to
to processed food the way Americans eat processed food, like even Europeans, there's like a lot of food we eat over here that they can't even
Yeah.
stomach.
Yeah. If you don't live off of a diet of chicken fingers, you and I cannot be friends.
Well, they remind me of so in the 1970s, the Gerber Foundation wanted to introduce their baby food to Africa because they were selling it in certain countries, but not in Africa. So they sent it to Africa to sell. And it not only did it not sell, but there was this huge backlash from a lot of the countries they sent it to. And they couldn't figure out why. And it turned out that when they translated it wrong. So instead of food for babies, it's made it sound like the food was made from babies. So people in Africa would see this little jar with a white baby face on it and think there was white babies in it from America. And obviously not knowing anything about us, we're like, is that what they eat over there, those weirdos? So
Oh my God, that's
yeah,
awesome.
they thought we were trying to sell them babies.
baby
in-
food.
yeah.
Yeah.
Food of the baby.
Wow.
Yeah.
We'll add that to the laundry list of things that we've done to just...
To
Like
scar
fur-
other
they're like-
countries.
So say like first they took a bunch of us to into slavery, and now they're giving us babies to eat. I can,
When are they going to be done?
right?
Yeah.
I can't with these white people. That's what they said. I just can't. Okay, so again, wonderful segue into Are Americans Weird? So,
Wow, this
we're
is just
super
kismet,
weird.
isn't it?
yeah. Because, okay, so I found this article on BuzzFeed that I saw it a while ago, and it's always been one of my favorite, and occasionally they'll redo it or they'll come up with new entries. And I just find it super fascinating because it's 18 American quirks that are actually kind of weird. So it's people who aren't American who write into BuzzFeed and say, what is up with this in America? And I think it's really interesting because a lot of it, I'm like, yeah, I agree. And other parts of it, I never even thought of. Okay, so like this one is...
Celery and peanut butter, I know that.
Yeah.
Other...
Peanut butter and jelly sandwiches is almost strictly an American thing. No one eats PB&J except for us.
It's so good.
Right? Like in England, they're big jam eaters. They don't understand putting it with peanut butter. Granted, they have their own weird food, so I don't know. God.
I've seen all of the Great British Baking Show, and we have to talk about puddings.
Yeah.
What the fuck is
a pudding is not a mound.
No, a pudding is not a bread cup. I want a literal pudding.
Yeah.
And no, I can't even get started. We could do a whole segment on that.
I can't even with this place. Okay. So number 1 is the massive gaps at the edge of the bathroom stall doors. So this person tweeted, it says, also, due to there not being occupied notices on toilet doors, they instead make the doors with a gap that's really large. Which makes I hate going into public bathrooms. Yeah, you sit down, pants around ankles, and you can literally make eye contact if someone is standing right there. Yeah. Hopefully they're not looking at you, but you can definitely see them. And I never understood, why can't you just make the door go all the way over?
Yeah.
Right?
Like, I get the feet at the bottom. Like, that doesn't bother me so much.
Right.
But yeah, in other countries, it's much more common for when they close the door, like when you go on an airplane and stuff, where it just goes to occupied, or
that
open.
Makes sense.
I don't get why.
Occupado.
AC everywhere all the time. Listen, I appreciate AC in the summer. Actually, I need AC in the summer, but you guys push it a bit too far. There's no need to turn every store into an icicle, especially if it's not even that hot outside anymore. It's not as bad here, but like when you go to places like Florida in the South where it's like really hot most of the time, everywhere you go it's like 90 degrees outside and then it's like 50 degrees inside everywhere you go.
I get sick constantly because it's such a temperature change from going inside and outside.
Mm-hmm.
Actually went to Disney as a child. Got so sick I had to do one day in Disney World in a wheelchair.
Oh wow.
Fever
Did they let you go to the front of the lines?
I didn't even ride anything that day. I just got pushed around in the sun.
I bet your parents were glad they spent that money.
Pushed around in the sun as you're having a fever.
Right?
Yeah, I was just
like heat stroke miserable. And they just like keep pushing them in the sun. That's one of those things too that like, I know people are always like, well, nowadays people coddle children, but it does feel like there was a period of time where it was like, you know, like, oh, I think I'm getting heat stroke. You'll be fine.
Keep going.
Put a hat on. You'll be all right. Like,
because our parents were we're growing up, I should say, like, but, you know, from the 50s and beyond that.
Yeah.
And really, really had that sense of, like, you're going to go out and do it yourself.
Yeah.
So, like, it was all the time, like, yeah, go out and run around. Oh, you don't have shoes on? Let me dig the glass out of your feet. Like, let's not.
Like, it was pretty much like, don't be an idiot. If something happens, then they, like, don't make a big deal out of it.
Exactly.
Like, well, I stepped on a nail. Why'd you outside with no shoes on? Like, then it was an issue. They never mentioned it until after something happened.
Well, here's a hammer. Go pound it down.
Yeah. Like, you'll be fine. They, like, pull it out and they like, put a Band-Aid on it with some Neosporin. You're all right.
You'll be all right. It's not going to fall off. That was the biggest thing growing up. If we ever got hurt, it was, well, do I need to chop it off?
Well,
do we need, like, if you hurt your hand, do we need to chop it off?
Because your dad's a fucking sociopath.
Yeah, I was going to say, you're not a good example because your dad was a military man and they had no sympathy whatsoever in the military.
Is the bone sticking out? No, then you're fine.
Yeah.
Keep going. People look at me so weird because I'm just so used to that. Where, like, I'll have a gash in my arm and just still keep going.
Yeah.
They're like, oh my God, you need to do something. I'm like, it's fine.
Yeah.
I spit on it. It'll be all right.
You're like hands all like floppy. You're like, the you know, it'll gain its, you know, feeling back in a couple of minutes.
It's still kind of functional.
Yeah. Well, wait till we're done, then I'll go to the. There's a really good French and Saunders skit where it's the two of them and these old ladies and they're like, they keep saying stuff. They're like, oh, stuff and nonsense. No need. And so it's like, oh, I went down to the basement. I tripped down the stairs. I broke my spine, lay unconscious for 4 days. My daughter's worried about me. She sends the bloody constabulary. I'm like, fuss and nonsense. No need. And it's just like, just leave me alone. And like walk around. There's like their arms purple. Oh, I just got it stuck in the mill outside. It'll be fine.
It'll be fine in a few days.
Yeah.
Walk it off.
Yeah, they have such a phobia of like going to the doctor for any medical treatment.
Yeah.
Like, just go to the doctor, Mom. I'm not going.
Yeah.
They don't know what they're talking about.
Right, so I can pay them $5,000 to tell me I'm sick. I know I'm sick. I'll take some aspirin. I'll be fine. Number 3 is the size of cars.
They're massive.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're definitely, we overcompensate big time on vehicles.
Did you just hear that Ford has like stopped making sedans?
Yeah,
Really?
they're stopping like the Focuses and their little cars.
They're really going to focus on
Really?
trucks and like SUVs and things like that.
I mean, if you have a need for hauling a lots of shit, I get it. But a part of me is almost like you should have to go, when you go to the dealership, you should have to prove you haul things for a living.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, because if you're one of those people, it's one thing if you like, you have a lot of property or you have a farm or something and you're hauling wood or you're moving stuff. But if you're someone who like lives in an apartment building, you don't need a fucking truck. Mm-hmm. And then
You don't need a diesel gas guzzling
and then you
truck.
have the people who like, they have like a big car and you're like, oh, hey, you have a van. Can you help me move a couch? No. You bought the van. That was your commitment to helping everybody you ever know move things.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, that's if you
the
didn't
catch.
want to help anybody or be the driver when you go on trips, buy the tiny car no one wants to ride in.
Right?
Exactly.
That's my philosophy, and that's why I own a tiny fucking car. So I don't ever have to drive when we go places. You want an SUV with 8 passenger seating? Congratulations, you're driving every time we're going somewhere.
That's right. Buckle up for safety.
You get to choose the radio, it's fine. You know what I mean? Like, you can pull that, it's my car. I
Yeah,
get to check
my
the
rules.
temperature. Yeah. Having American flags everywhere, just in case you weren't sure what country you lived in.
Right. Is that really necessary in every corner?
That's patriotism, and I mean, it comes
Yeah.
and goes. I think where
It definitely does. It's a selective patriotism.
especially like after 9/11, they were
Right?
everywhere.
Or the last couple, like last year when there was the whole kneeling during the
National anthem.
national anthem and suddenly people got really uppity about it, and you think, first of all, how often do you even pay attention when the national anthem is playing? Because you know when they scan the crowds at those football games, people are on their phone, they're talking to people, they're yelling at their kids, they don't give a fuck about the national anthem until someone makes a political protest about it. And then they're
Not even about it.
yeah, and then they're like, then they get mad about like the American flag, like you can't let it touch the ground. I'm like, people make it into fucking pants and speedos and t-shirts. Like, if Kid Rock can wear one around,
It's not supposed to be printed on anything disposable, and I grew
Yeah.
up having 4th of July parties where
Yeah.
everything was
right?
American
red,
flag,
white, and blue. Yeah, an American theme.
Which I don't have a problem with, but if you're gonna start getting picky about
Right.
it, get
Yeah.
Let's talk. Just like the Christians. They're like, oh, this, that, and the other. And I'm like, have you read the rest of Leviticus? Do you just know the part about the homosexuals?
you pick and choose,
Yeah.
right?
Tattoos are in there, too, and I see by your neck that you're fully tatted.
Right.
Sir.
It's like I'm. Last time I checked, you were eating meat on Fridays. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you were coveting a lot of people's wives,
Neighbors'
a lot of
wives.
neighbors' wives. So,
That's right.
Or yeah, the like. I listened to too much true crime, but it's like the people that are super religious and then kill their families
yeah.
because they didn't want them to suffer.
Yeah.
Whatever. It's like you're just
That's
skimming
God's
over that
will.
whole you shouldn't kill
Right.
people.
Right. My favorite are the uber conservative politicians who are like, no, gay people shouldn't have rights to marry, but then are caught like banging underage boys,
Yeah.
and you're like, what? So
Well,
one
if
extreme
that is
or
your
the-
conception of what
that
what
is
it
true.
is,
That's true. If because you're a fucking pervert, you assume everybody else is a goddamn pervert.
like,
and you're
can you
self-loathing.
just have an adult relationship with someone that you
Yeah.
have an attachment to,
Yeah.
and whatever you guys do, you do.
Right? As long as you're both consensual, who gives a
right.
fuck?
As long as
Stop thinking about how everyone's fucking. That's what I want to tell them when they're like, but it's unnatural sodomy. And I'm like, stop thinking about how everyone's fucking. There's a fair amount of straight people having butt sex too.
Yeah, right.
Just stop focusing on it.
Yeah.
They need to.
Plus, not all gay couples are participating in sodomy. You don't know what they're doing. You know, maybe they're just touching tips. Who knows?
sword fighting.
Right? Maybe they don't even engage in physical contact because they're asexual. Doesn't you know what I mean? Like, just yeah.
It's weird.
Mind your business, bitches.
That's right.
Number 5 is waiters asking if everything's okay every damn minute. In France, we prefer our waiters unavailable and aloof.
We.
I have heard
Oui.
a foreign comedian's joke about customer service in America being over the top. Jack Whitehall, who's a British comedian, talked about the first time he went to New York. He went into an Apple store, and the minute he stepped foot in there, someone was like, "Hey, buddy, how's it going? What's going on?" And he's like, "I don't want to make a friend today. I just want you to help me with my iPhone." he's like, you're just constantly. He's like, it's nice, but it's overwhelming. Like, You're just constantly, and I think it's because we put the emphasis on, you know, especially waiters, they want to earn that money.
That's right.
And they feel that if they're your best friend, or if they make you feel like you've had this amazing experience by constantly, like, essentially being your servant, you'll give them money, which we know it doesn't always happen.
No.
And then you get those assholes who, if it's not, like, super stellar over the top, like, you're the only person that exists to them.
In service,
yeah, knowing that they have 4 or 5 other tables, but if they don't treat you like you're the only person that matters, then you penalize them for it because you're cheap and you're just looking for a reason not to tip.
Yeah. And if you make a lot of money, just fucking tip.
Yeah.
Like, I don't make a lot of money. I still fucking tip.
I always
because
tip.
they gotta make their living.
Yeah, I always tip 20%. The only way I would ever tip less than that is if I thought they are actively going out of their way to be rude to me, which has happened maybe once. You know what I mean? Like, no one, even if they're not, like, being the greatest, it's like, maybe they got a lot of shit going on.
Right. At that point in time, you're
If they're not
listen,
if they're not like spitting in my food or being rude directly to me, then they still deserve it.
even if they're just forgetful.
Yeah.
But I will say this: if you want a good tip from me, just keep my water full.
Right?
Yeah.
If I never have to ask you for water, you are gonna get the biggest tip, and I'm also gonna give you money afterwards.
Or the lady from Red Robin yesterday, who every time she brought anything to the table, she brought a cup of ranch with it.
I was in heaven.
When she brought the fries, first because Red Robin, so they can give you fries before the nice waiters will give you fries before the burgers come out because it's endless. And if they wait till the burgers come out, they know you're not going to get any refills. Well, most people aren't because it's hard to eat a burger and all the fries. So the nice ones who automatically are going to get a better tip bring you the fries first.
Just bring me the fries.
And so, like, every time she brought anything, whether it was a beverage refill or anything, she just brought a cup of ranch with it. Because every time Shane would order, he's like, "Can I get a side of ranch with that?" So
I was stocked up.
And she was like, "Oh, I'm a ranch lover. I know what it's like." Okay, this is really funny because I was literally just talking with my parents earlier today. All the insane commercials for prescription drugs.
Yes. Yeah.
When 2/3 of the ad is focused on the side effects, 1/3 on one of them being death. Why even bother advertising?
Right? Death and suicidal thoughts and depression.
Yeah.
A depression medication that the side effect is depression.
I've got that covered. I'm already depressed enough. I don't need anything to make it any worse.
Yeah.
That is true. Yeah, where in other countries they don't even allow
It's
prescription drugs.
I mean, maybe
they can't advertise anything.
Yeah, well, maybe I'm too. This is too of a Pollyanna view, but I like to think that if I need something, medication, therapy, something, my doctor will know that.
Yeah.
Like if I'm not feeling good and I go to my doctor, so if I go to my doctor and I'm like, you know what, I don't know what's wrong with me, but every time I'm in this situation, I feel really nervous and like my palms sweat and blah, blah, blah. I would rely on my medically trained doctor to be like, you know what, that sounds like anxiety. Let's get you some medicine for that. I don't think I should have to go to my doctor and ask them to give me something because I think something's wrong with me.
Yeah. I think if you have to go and actually ask for it, unless like you're on like medication for that already and it's not working or like
and you're like, I think trying something else.
I should try this.
Yeah.
That's different, but just being like, oh, I feel anxious, I'm going to go get a prescription for drugs.
Yeah.
Like, that's just you look like hypochondriacs.
Well, it's like one of those things where, like, you come into your doctor and you're like, I saw a commercial the other day and there were all these bouncing heads and some were sad and some were happy and I feel like the sad one. Can I get Prilosec or whatever the fuck? You know what I mean? Like the commercials.
I've got ulcers in my stomach that are bouncing heads.
Yeah,
I need Prilosec.
The commercials always make the whatever disorder is look really simplistic and straightforward, and most diseases are not that straightforward.
Well, most of the treatments that they have for them are like not actually designed to be used in that manner. So a doctor can prescribe you literally anything that they think is going to be beneficial. Yeah. So most anti-anxiety or antidepressants are actually anticonvulsants.
Yeah.
Or other types of medication.
Yeah.
And being someone that has a real problem with SSRIs that has like tried several of them and just had like stupid reactions to them. My side of that is like if I go to the doctor, like I already know. So they're like I go to a new doctor and they're like, well, we're gonna try this and we're gonna try that, and I'm like, no, we're not. First of all, I've had a reaction to that. If you look at my chart. Second of all, the other one that increases this other thing, like if you don't know what restless leg syndrome is, go look it up, find someone who has it, and then just like hug them because life is hard. So yeah, they tried to put me on a medication once that would make that worse, and basically you just like can't get your legs comfortable.
Yeah.
And like sleepless nights
Which,
are hell.
And I completely understand. I think it's very important and smart as an individual, as an adult, to monitor your health and to read up on that kind of stuff. And I absolutely agree that you should, going into the doctor, know about the kind of things, because then when the doctor's like, well, what if we try this? Then you kind of like know, oh, well, I heard that this has that in it and it won't work. But I think that's entirely different than watching one commercial for one medicine
and thinking
you're not an expert at this
I'm going to need
guys.
that. I think we should be encouraging people to go and look up legitimate research material on medicines and diseases, as opposed to just listening to one commercial for one medicine and being like, oh, I think I have that.
And I'm not saying like there's not benefit to big pharma, but at the same point in time, like, there's so many different options for therapy for things.
Oh yeah.
That doesn't necessarily have to be a pill.
Yeah.
You know, a little bit of fresh air goes a long way. You know, a hug from somebody goes a long way.
Yeah, a lot of it's psychological, where it's a matter of talking, and like anything, you know, if it has to be chemical to help with the psychological, that's one thing, but it should never be you're constantly for the rest of your life going to be chemically dependent on something for certain things. Certain things, it's body chemistry. You need to change it, like. Something about how your body's producing something needs to be changed, and the only way to do that is to give you medicine.
Exactly.
But if it's something where it's like, oh, this is 98% psychological, then you just have to reevaluate your brain.
You got to take a step back.
Yeah, and
you've got to look around. You got to walk back into it when you're ready.
Yeah. So I don't think it's healthy to just being like, I think you need this. You should be self-diagnosing yourself.
Disclaimer, none of us are doctors.
That's true. You don't have to listen to us. Okay, selling cigarettes in pharmacies. Call me old-fashioned, but I shouldn't be able to buy cigarettes and get your flu shot at the same place.
I really think that's the only place you'd be able to buy cigarettes.
Yeah.
You need to go, and they need
Pharmacy?
to be like, yeah.
I think it's funny you can buy them at gas stations, even though when you see people smoking at a gas station, you're like, fuck you. Put that out.
Also,
like,
people
I just bought
smoking
it.
in the car with kids, like, I know it's just past, like, last October or whatever, and you're not, like, allowed to smoke in the car with anyone under 18, but I see it all the time.
Oh, yeah.
Just like,
oh, that was a thing. That was another kid when we were kids, like, windows
smoking in restaurants,
smoking in cars with kids, windows rolled up because it's the middle of winter. Giving them lung cancer. I was behind two older women, probably in their 60s, and they in Big Boy the other day, and they walked in and they said, 2 non-smoking, please, because they were so used to. Like, they probably do that everywhere they go because they don't think, oh, you can't smoke in restaurants anymore.
They had head trauma during
you can
the war.
You can smoke in bars and you can smoke in casinos, and I think that's really all you can.
Yeah.
The only 2 places you can.
Not even really bars.
You can't smoke in bars.
It has to be sovereign land in Michigan.
Definitely casinos, because every time I go in a casino, and I grew up with a smoking father, and I don't really have I don't have reactions or anything, but not being around smoke even for the last 10 years and then going into a place where people are smoking is really like jarring.
We went to Michigan City, Indiana, I believe it is, for my birthday, probably a good 7-8 years ago. And in Michigan, we haven't been able to smoke cigarettes in restaurants for a long time.
Yeah.
And as an adult who had smoked and on occasions does smoke a cigarette, going into a restaurant and sitting even in the non-smoking section of a smoking restaurant was mind-blowing.
Yeah.
I don't know how people breathe. I don't know how you tasted your food. I think back to it being a kid and it just kind of fades into the background. But having had the difference and going back to it, it's
yeah.
Thank goodness.
Yeah. I don't get how people could smoke while they eat.
Absolutely.
It's one thing if you want to smoke a cigarette after you eat or before because it makes you less hungry or whatever reason people smoke because they suppress their appetite or whatever. But yeah, to smoke while you're eating?
My grandma had this old adage, and I don't know where she got it from, but she's like, if you think your food is taking too long and you're sick of waiting, light up a cigarette and your food will be right there. And that still stuck with me, but you can't smoke anymore. And not saying that I would want to.
Yeah.
That's just one of the things that I'm never going to forget about my grandma is that classic American ignorance.
Right.
God love her.
The same thing works if you go up to the bathroom, though. That's like another one where it's like, get up
Yeah.
and go use the bathroom, and when you come back, your food's there, kind of
And
thing.
you're like, damn it, my fries are just too cold.
Yeah.
I just missed
Can you take it back and warm it? I was in the bathroom.
Exactly.
Number 8, ads for lawyers and doctors. If you find you're a lawyer on the subway ad, maybe reconsider your life choices. Yeah, where it's like 1-800-DIVORCE, or like it's kind of similar, but I noticed the other day I was driving and they had the signs that it was like cash for your home, call us at this number, or cash for diabetes medicine, or whatever. Just like the weird. I'm like, how many people actually call those numbers of those posters?
I'm sure thousands.
And like,
I'm sure. What gets me is there's like, it's all written in Sharpie. It's not even like done with
it's like
stencil or anything.
some child or some serial killer's handwriting.
And you're like,
Like the
diabetic
R's,
testing strips.
the R's backwards, like the Toys R Us sign, to make it look like a kid wrote it, but a kid could have actually written it.
Probably.
Yeah, or like the lawyers ads on TV where it's always the whitest dude, and he's always like, "I'm David the Thor Steinberg, and I'll get you your money," and it's just like, what? No one calls you that.
No. Like you're mixing Nordic and like Jewish at that point in time. It's not going to go well for you.
Well, I came across once. It was a video, and it was like all these local lawyer ads, and like there was like this whole. It was like 6 or 7 of them from across the country in different locations, where they all referred to themselves as the Hammer. So they're always like, "I'm Ned the Hammer, something something," or they call me the Hammer because I don't give up.
Bring down the gavel.
Yeah, and it's like they all had the same thing. It was like, how many lawyers are called the Hammer? Because
There's a club.
yeah,
You get a hammer when you join. Once a year they gather.
Number 9 is the fact that something called the World Series only features American teams.
Yeah.
Never thought about that.
I had realized that, yeah.
The World Series, yeah.
Of baseball.
Baseball.
Anytime I think World Series, I just think of soccer.
World Cup.
World Cup.
Yeah.
But that
That's
actually
World Cup.
features countries from like other
Right.
countries.
Because
And it only happens every 4 years, which is I much prefer, other than like the Super Bowl and stuff where it's every year. I'm like, yeah, make it every 4 years. Then it's like really a big deal.
Yeah, then
Like
you
the
get more
Olympics.
of,
then you
yeah.
can freak out about it.
Yeah. Then you can have riots in the streets like soccer does.
Right.
It's always South America and Europe. Those are really the only countries that are good at
Football.
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 Number 10, people who say "How are you" when they really just mean hello and don't care at all about how you are.
That is
As
true,
an
yeah.
American, that's fucking annoying.
Yeah.
I'm like, no.
Because you say "How are you" and you expect the person to go, "Oh, I'm good. How are you?" And if they answer in any other way, you don't know what to do.
No, you don't.
You're like, "Oh, I don't actually want to know."
This is a conversation now. Working at a credit union, people will come in and I'm like, "Hi, how are you today?" And they're like 917 blah blah blah. And I'm just like, "Oh, it's a great way to be. What's your account number?"
Yeah.
And then they look at me like I'm fucking stupid, and I'm just like, "You are rude, and I'm gonna call you on your shit."
I like when they leave and you say, "You have a good day," and they literally say nothing, and then when they exit the doors, you go, "Oh, thanks. I'll have a good day too." Dick, just say "you too."
What I meant to say was,
Yeah.
I hope you slip and fall.
Once I had a person when I was working retail, and I said, "You have a good day," and they paused, they looked at me dead in the eyes and really seriously went, "You have a better one." Like in an aggressive way. Like they were mad I was telling them to have a good day. And I'm thinking, fine, then have a shitty day. Screw you. I don't got to wish you nothing.
I really like that e-card that popped up. It was like, "Have the day you deserve." Let
Right.
karma sort that shit out. Fuck you.
Well, this one will hit you close to home, Shane. It says iced water even when it's 20 degrees outside.
Oh my god. Don't give it to me without ice in
I
it.
get liking ice cold water in the summer, but most restaurants serve it even when it's snowing outside. Does no one have sensitive teeth in this country?
I have sensitive teeth, and you better still have, like, that shit better be cold.
Yeah.
I have recently gotten one of those, like, thermosy cups, and, like, for a long time I was like, how cold does your shit need to be?
Right.
No, my shit needs to be ice cold.
Where it's like it'll keep your ice from melting for like 48 hours.
Yes, I will put ice in it in the morning, and I will wake up the next morning, and there'll still be ice in my cup, and I'm
You're
just
like, this was
yes.
made for me. Well, that reminds me of like another thing about childhood. So like growing up in the country, I remember brushing my teeth in the bathroom of our house and having the water taste really, really good, but just in the bathroom tap. Did you ever like well I still like well water tastes better than like if you like city water if you have purified water or whatever.
Grew up on city water. I used to think my grandma's water tasted really good, which was just Albion tap water, and then like our water, which was well water and like softened and ran through a reverse osmosis thing, like tasted kind of weird to me. And I realized that it was just all the chemicals that I was used to.
Yeah.
That I wasn't getting.
That chemical dependency from childhood.
But I tell you what, McDonald's, whatever they're doing is wrong, and I'm against it. But as long as I can still get a free large fucking water with whatever the hell I buy.
I think the water from those fountain beverage machines tastes
so good
because it's in the machine, so it's like adjacent to the sugar, but doesn't actually have the sugar in it. Something about being next to it.
I just like the fact that it's
some
filtered,
of the property.
Yeah,
and it comes out ice cold, and you like, get so much ice. I'm so thirsty now, guys.
Because they fill the cups all the way up with ice, so they give you less beverage.
Yeah.
But when it's water, it's no big deal.
Right? Exactly.
Like you literally get more beverage.
Exactly.
Number 12, and while we're at it, the nation's obsession with iced coffee. Coffee should be hot, even in summer. Don't at me. That's what the comments. I like an iced coffee because I don't like super hot beverages.
I don't like super hot beverages either. And if I'm going to drink coffee, I normally just do shots of espresso because why fuck around with it?
Right.
Don't be a pussy bitch.
Give me that caffeine.
Exactly. This is mine. Just if you're rolling into Starbucks and you need something different, just ask for a doppio pulled over some caramel drizzle. And,
a doppio?
A doppio. Which is 2 shots of espresso.
A doppio.
Pulled over some caramel drizzle just so it like starts to warm it up and like starts to melt it as it pulls, and then just a dollop of whipped cream. Just mix that bitch up, take it in one go, and it's like oddly satisfying. Mm-hmm. And then you have energy for literally the next 36 hours if you're caffeine intolerant like me.
It's like a really tasty 5-hour energy that actually works.
Yeah.
And doesn't taste like cough medicine. I like obviously the caffeine. I understand I wouldn't say this is strictly an American thing. I can think other places are like this too, but we're probably the leaders of it, of like this obsession with coffee that's not really coffee. Where you're right, it's like espresso with other flavoring. So you get the caffeine, but you don't have to deal with and I'll say coffee tastes gross. If I drink coffee, it has to have flavored cream or sugar in it because straight black coffee tastes disgusting. And anyone who claims they like it for the taste is lying.
I'm not a coffee drinker. I've had straight black coffee that's been delicious. Working for Starbucks, they make you taste everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I did find a coffee that I could drink.
Is it that hoity, organic, grown on the side of a mountain, picked by monks kind of coffee?
It's actually Guatemalan.
Yeah.
So I mean, it is like mountainside coffee.
Yeah.
It's just so smooth, and it tastes like really what I thought coffee should taste like as a kid. Mm. But I do like
not
it
like fat,
with a bunch of stuff in it.
Yeah.
And just frou-free as all hell.
Yeah.
But personally, I'd prefer a chai to a coffee.
Yeah.
If I really given the opportunity. Mm-hmm. And then I do like it iced, so.
I once read about how to make decaf coffee, they extract the caffeine from the coffee bean, and then they boil it down and sell it to diet sodas. So you get the coffee you get the energy without the sugar.
Really?
So when you're drinking a diet soda, you're drinking the extracted caffeine from a coffee bean.
Interessante.
Huh.
Mm-hmm. And a coffee is essentially just sits in its own. It's just bath water for coffee beans. Sits in its own juices, and you drink it. Having to endure 3,000 commercial breaks on TV. When a 40-minute long program ends up lasting an hour because of countless commercial breaks, something isn't right.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. I don't even watch TV anymore because I'm too hip for that. But yeah, if I go to my dad's or anything like that and look on the TV and everything is just commercials. At
the same time, because they don't want you to channel surf, so they always, radio stations, they always break at the same times.
Well, and being a true Drag Race addict, I buy that shit on Amazon.
Right.
And you can tell where the commercial breaks are cut in.
Yeah, I always like when you watch something that had commercial breaks, but the commercial breaks have been cut out because they keep that. Because you remember they used to have a thing. They don't do it as much anymore because of the lack of commercials, I think, in streaming services. But they used to do a thing in the 90s where you would have the scene would end and it would go to a commercial, and then when it came back, it would be the last 30 seconds of the scene before it went to commercial, as if you forgot 30 seconds of what the plot was. Or like Law and Order used to do this thing where they would summarize the first half hour of the episode in the middle of it before the second half hour.
Because you might have missed it. Who knows?
Because they knew either you were channel surfing or you weren't paying attention or you were an idiot, apparently. But yeah, it's to the point now where like when I have to watch like a YouTube video or a streaming video and they make you watch a commercial before it, I get really mad that I have to watch a 30-second commercial before I can watch my YouTube video. Even though when I was a kid, you'd watch 8 commercial breaks in an hour program.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's from, like, really coming up when the internet, before, like, people are like, oh, I can make money off of advertising on every single page you visit.
Nothing used to be...
Clickbait, bitch.
Yeah, it didn't used to be that bad. Like, YouTube didn't used to have to watch videos before it, or, like...
Swear to God, like...
Yeah.
If I see one more video for a Tide Pen, I'm just gonna...
Have you guys seen... So, you know how there's the big thing about how you, like, you go to Amazon and you look up suitcases, and when you go to Facebook or YouTube or like Yahoo, there's like ads for suitcases because they like pay attention to your browsing. And there was that big thing a couple weeks ago with Mark Zuckerberg. And did you watch any of that interview? He went to Congress because they were, the whole thing was Facebook sold user data to a company that turned out to be not what Facebook thought it was, and they were using the data for something that Facebook wasn't aware they were using it for. You click a box. You say, fine, when you sign up for these things. So you give them permission to sell your shit. If you don't want them to sell your shit, don't sign up for it. However, that aside, they had him go to testify in front of Congress. They asked him a bunch of questions, and it was the most ridiculous thing because you have this 35-year-old computer programmer who is one of the richest internet people in the world, runs this multi-million-dollar company. And he's sitting in front of essentially a bunch of pensioners, a bunch of should-be retirees, asking him how asking him how the internet works.
I did see a couple posts
because they're like, Mr. Zuckerberg, can you tell me that if I go on Facebook and I look up something when I do something when I come back, Facebook won't know even if I'm not logged in, blah blah. And he's like, I don't really understand what you're asking me, but if you're asking me this, which is what I think you're saying, then the answer is no. What you're telling me, blah, blah, like, because they don't understand cookies or how computer programs. So it's like they just assume Facebook knows all your shit. And it's like, no, everybody knows your shit when you go on the internet. It's not just Facebook. But it's so funny because he's like trying all he can to not be like, you're dumb and you don't know how the internet works. And that's not my fault.
Right.
But it's just, boy. Anyway, sorry, that was a little bit of a tangent, but that's what it reminded me of.
It's fine. It takes me back to geometry.
Math jokes, folks. That's what you come here for. Number 14, getting carded when you're old enough to get to be a card-carrying AARP member. They do.
Yeah, they have to legally card.
If they think you're under 40, they have to ask for your ID or whatever.
Which sometimes, every time I get carded, I'm like, oh, aren't you sweet?
Yeah.
Here's my ID.
And this might be something, I don't know if this is American. I'd be curious to ask anybody who wasn't from here, is being obsessed with not giving your ID an American thing? Because people get so angry when you ask for their ID for things.
Yep.
Like, they're like, here's my credit card. And you're like, oh, can I see your ID? Why? Because you just gave me a credit card with a name on it. I don't know if this is you. The IDs are created so that we have...
That's what it used to be like that. That was the whole thing where you give you your ID and the credit card. Now you can just stick it into the machine.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter whose it is.
Yeah.
When Social Security first came around, your Social Security number was never intended to be used for identification purposes.
Right.
And the old cards say this is not to be used as a form of identification.
And now
Now you can't get a bank account without having it.
Right.
Like, you
have to put it on job applications, which I'm like, you don't even know if you're going to get the job, and you have to give them your social.
Right.
But it's one of those things where, like, that I get. But, like, if you have a photo, like a legal form of identification, and you're pulled over and a cop asks for it, or you're at the store and you have to buy, and, you know, you don't have your name on the card, or you're buying booze or something. People get furious when you ask for their ID.
Working as a teller, having to scan people's IDs into the system. You're like, hey, can I scan you in? You're not in the system yet. Well, why do you need it? Sir, we have your money.
Yeah.
Do you want anyone else to be able to come and get it? If not, I suggest you let me just scan your ID into the system.
You should be glad that I'm verifying this is you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I asked you for your security question. How dare I?
Yeah.
I don't know who you
I
are.
used to have, when I worked at the library and I helped people with technology, like, we used to have older patrons who they would call or they'd come in, they'd be like, I was here like a month ago and you helped me get an email account. Yeah. Do you remember my password? You're like, first of all, it's a month. Why would I remember your password? Second of all, you should be glad I don't remember your password because I'm a stranger, lady. Like,
Yeah.
I know I work at the library and, but you don't know who I am. You should be glad I don't remember any of your shit.
Right.
I'm constantly having to help people set up their online banking, and I'm like, okay, guys, I'm just gonna verify in front of you that I'm logging out. I had you do all the logging in.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Bank is a huge one because they're like, especially if they're regulars, they expect you to remember all their shit. And you're like, you should be glad I'm not remembering your account number.
Right.
Why? I'd be worried if the day I came in, they're like, oh, I already put your account number in. And you're like, no, like, don't know that information. Number 15, the fact that tax is never included in a price tag.
True. Yeah.
You have
it's
to add
bullshit.
that shit on so it looks like you're spending less. Yeah.
Just what am I gonna spend in the end?
Yep. Just give me the price out the door.
If it's
bitch.
$5.99, tell me $6.35, motherfucker.
Yeah. Give me the price out the door because then you still get people who are surprised when you tell them the total that when it includes tax. Because they pick up something it's like $15.99 and you're like, well, the total is $17. I'm like, I thought it was $15. Like $15.99, so it's $16
Right.
plus tax. Yeah. Like they're
Losers.
surprised how tax works.
Yeah.
16, having to share a dorm room in college.
What is that about?
Depends on what college you go to. I mean, you can.
Not a lot of places would let freshmen do it. Some places, like the if you're there longer, they'll like give you the option to do. But I don't know very many colleges that, like straight off the bat are like, yeah, you can room by yourself.
I don't understand.
You
like,
just have
the
to pay
need
extra if
Yeah.
you get a room by yourself.
people have to be near other people because I don't have that need.
No.
I'm like, go away. I need my quiet time. I need my quiet space.
Yeah.
Like I don't. Well, last thing, I would have ended up murdering someone in college.
Yeah.
If I had to live in a dorm and some jock like asshole was my
Right.
Roommate.
I
They
always
would've
thought
gotten
I
strangled
always
in
got
their
mad that
sleep.
you had to eat in a cafeteria. Like they would never let you take stuff out.
'Cause
and-
I didn't want you to feed the streets.
And I'm just like, why can't I take my meal and leave? Like, why do I have to eat it here on a tray? Like, can't you just give me like a styrofoam box and can't I just take this shit somewhere else? Like, I always thought that was unfair. Or are you afraid I'm going to stock up and eat for the next 5 days?
Oh, that's
I just want to take my Salisbury steak and eat it in my room alone.
We're actually doing that at the college now, where you can like get a to-go box.
Yeah,
and just like
you can
leave.
physically hand me the one box, and if I can't fit shit in there, then that's my own issue. You know what I mean?
I'd be like, yeah, give me the box, and then just like fill up the half.
Like when
the
you
top and the
like
bottom.
when you go to a Chinese buffet that's a carry out, and you just kind of set it in the bottom of the bag and just keep stacking stuff. And you're like, if I
Yes.
hold this right, I won't make a mess, and I can get it out to my car.
I will have enough coconut shrimp to last me the next 12 hours.
Similarly, the whole deal with sororities and fraternities.
What
First
is
of
that?
all, why? And what is recruitment week? And why is Greek letters? And oh, what's up with sorority posses?
The only thing I think of when I think of fraternities is homoerotic behavior. And, like, not everyone's into that.
Yeah.
So, what else do you do?
Well, I get that's kind of like a built-in, like, if you're one of those people that needs to be around people or you want a built-in group of friends, like, it's kind of an accepting thing. Like, I get that, but I just love the idea that it's still hiding behind, like, traditions and blah, blah. And I'm like, no, you're not.
Right.
You
You're
really,
just
you just
lonely.
want an excuse for a bunch of people to live, but for the university to give you cheap housing so you can have a bunch of people live there.
Yeah.
I think the parties are a main draw for a lot of people,
Yeah.
too. Like, oh, I want to go somewhere that's going to, like, throw a mean party.
Yeah.
Like, no, you don't. You're going to have to clean that shit up.
Right?
Like, I've been to a couple college parties, and I'm just like,
Oh my god.
Well, they're going to blow the building up in the morning, right? Like, that's
Yeah.
the only way that's going to
Oh
get
my god.
fixed.
The frats are so disgusting at the college.
Yeah.
So nasty.
What's worse than a 20-year-old not cleaning up after themselves? 20-year-olds not cleaning up after themselves?
60 more like.
Yeah.
But no, you like walk in and your feet stick to the floor.
It's all jizz.
Semen.
Yeah, you just turn the black light on, it's
Booze
just
and
semen
semen.
everywhere.
Yeah, you walk in and just like every time I walk into one, I'm like, I need to go home
Like, it
and
smells-
shower and bleach.
Yeah, you're like, it smells like a gym locker room in here. Like, just
Worse
the
than a gym-
worst, like the
yeah.
sweatiest armpits.
My next field trip is going to be...
Okay, well, we're getting close to the end, but to close this off, I have a quiz here. April and I have already took it, so we know our results. We're going to give you the quiz, see what it is.
Quiz me.
Okay, so you're either weird or not weird based on how you eat these foods. Okay, so when you eat French fries, and obviously if these don't apply to you, just go with what your gut would be,
All
right?
right.
So if you eat French fries, do you dip the ketchup and keep it on the side, or do you put the ketchup on top of the fries?
Okay, well, we're going to just throw ketchup right out the fucking window. 'Cause
Okay.
Never in my life.
Let's do ranch then.
I'm a dipper. I dip everything.
Okay, so you wouldn't
I would
pour
never
it
put
on
ranch. And no, that's wrong.
because then it's messy when you eat
It's
it.
soggy, too. I
Yep.
don't want my ranch on there for any longer than the second it takes to get to my mouth.
Yep.
When you eat string cheese, do you just bite into it or do you peel it off?
I'm the weirdo. I bite it.
You bite into
I
it.
do bite it.
Okay. You're like, I don't need to spend 8 minutes eating this piece of cheese. I just
Right.
wanted him a
If I
gob
pull
now.
off a string, like, I just barely get the taste, and I'm, like, trying to chew it. And,
There's
like,
certain types of foods where you're almost like, it's not a toy. Just fucking eat the
Right.
food. Like, why do you need to take so much time? What do you do when there's only a tiny bit of milk left in the carton? Do you put it back in the fridge for another time, or do you use the rest immediately and throw it away?
oh, I kill it.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, there's only so much soy milk left, especially chocolate soy milk.
Yeah.
I'm like, glug, 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 glug.
So you
glug.
never do that thing where you're like, oh, there's hardly any left, and you put it back, and then next time you go and you go, God damn it, older self, why'd you do this to me? When you go to get cereal the next day, and you're like, fuck, I can't even get a bowl out of this.
No, I will kill it if I have the opportunity.
All right. How do you slice your sandwiches, diagonally or down the middle?
This is actually a weird thing from my childhood. So my mom always did the sandwich into squares. So she would do it like right down the middle and then right like across.
So it was like little finger sandwiches.
Right, exactly. So each like grilled cheese would be 4 little grilled cheeses.
Yeah.
And then my dad got married to this psycho.
Psycho with our sandwiches.
We were talking about pharmaceuticals earlier. Now
Yeah.
we're bringing up past traumas. Every time she would make grilled cheeses, which were infinitely better, I hate to say it. I do not like the woman, but she
Yeah.
made a mean grilled cheese.
Yeah.
She would slice it diagonally. And the one that has stuck with me as an adult is I prefer a diagonal sandwich.
All right.
Huh.
I always thought that looked classier because it always reminded me of like
Yeah.
a 1950s housewife making a sandwich
Yeah.
and cutting it. But my parents always did it down the center. But I think it looks better diagonally.
I think it's aesthetically more pleasing. Yeah.
Do you keep your ketchup? And you don't like ketchup.
Not at all.
Okay. In growing up, though, did you ever have ketchup in the house?
It was always in the house.
Okay. Did you guys keep it in the fridge or at room temperature?
Oh, in the fridge.
Okay, so I was talking to April about this, right? So nowhere on the ketchup bottle does it say you have to refrigerate it. Because the acidity in tomatoes, because you don't refrigerate tomatoes.
Right.
And I never thought of that. Mustard and ketchup always went in the fridge. Yep. Even though, when you think about it, mustard and ketchup is on the table at the restaurant all the time. They never refrigerate them.
Right.
But I never thought that was
Mind
weird.
blown.
Right?
Same as like barbecue sauce and everything else too.
Yeah, there's a lot of condiments that we keep in the fridge that we don't have to.
Mm-hmm.
Ladies and gentlemen, please keep your mayonnaise in the fridge.
Yeah, mayonnaise
Yeah.
because of the eggs. But so do you like bagels?
Yes.
Do you eat them toasted or not toasted?
Both.
What would you prefer?
Okay, so even if I toast things, and this is a point of contention between Lance and I, I like it to be like on the least toasted side of the spectrum.
Okay.
I want it to be warm, and I want the top to be like vaguely crispy.
Okay.
Like maybe just starting to golden brown.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Lance will take something and it looks like it's been burnt with
He'll
charcoal.
put that
And he
that dial on. He'll put that dial on a 5, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And pop it down, and then when you go to put your toast in, you're like, "Fuck, he left it on the 5."
I want a 2, maybe a 1.5. I'm not sure today.
So would you say not toasted?
I would say not toasted.
I like that nice medium where it's like a golden brown, but it's really hard to get that.
It
It's either
is.
not toasted or too toasted.
And then I've got to put a lot of butter or a lot of whatever I've got going
Right?
on
Do you
there.
do cream cheese on your bagels, or
I
do you do
do.
butter?
And I really like flavored cream cheeses, and I
Yeah.
make different ones where I'll do like strawberry in it, and then I'll do like honey in it.
Yeah.
and-
Oh yeah, I like the there's like a mixed berry whipped cream cheese that Philadelphia makes, and I put it on like a cinnamon raisin, and the berries are really tart, but the cinnamon raisin's really sweet. It's really good, and it's like a purple color, so that's kind of cool. Do you eat cereal?
I do.
Do you pour the milk in first and then the cereal, or do you pour the cereal in and then the milk?
Cereal first. If you don't do this, you're like
Sociopath.
Yeah.
Puts the milk in and then pours the cereal on top.
I forget what show it was, but I watched somebody do it, and I like literally got up screaming at the TV. It was just like, what are you doing?
I didn't even know this was a thing till like 2 years ago when I saw one of these articles about is weird things people do, and they're like, no, you like people who put ice cubes in milk. I didn't even think of that as an option until I saw people.
Yeah. I think I had like a restaurant did that once, and it's like it waters it down.
Yeah,
the ice and milk. And
it does.
Orange juice is a little bit easier to understand because like my sister likes ice in her orange juice. I don't really care.
Your sister likes juice that is like 0.15% juice, and the rest of it water. Like she likes it's juice twice removed.
Just a hint of juice.
It's like she takes a cup of water and then she squeezes in like half of an orange, and she's like, there we go, orange juice.
We're gonna go in as a Christmas present for one of those cups where the rim just smells.
Yeah, so she doesn't even have to.
She doesn't even have to get juice. It's just water, but she thinks she's gonna have juice.
Yeah, so she tricks her brain into it. When you eat spaghetti, do you twirl it around your fork, or do you just cut it up in small bits?
Oh no, I'm a twirler. I don't like to cut it. I also like to just do butter and Parmesan. Red sauce on pasta is not something I eat very often.
I'm not a huge red sauce fan too. I'll eat a spaghetti if it's but it's not. I much prefer a marinara, or not a marinara, but an Alfredo base.
Absolutely.
Do you eat the Oreo with twist and lick, or do you just bite into it? Do you eat the cream out of the middle?
No, I do not eat the cream out of the middle. I am not a savage.
I don't got time to like pick up. Again, it's not a game. Just eat the damn cookie.
Exactly. I'm not trying to win points by getting the cookie off before I do it. I'm a dunker. That shit's going in some silk, and it's gonna sit there till it's soft, and then it's going in my mouth in one go.
I don't like.
And if that makes me a fat kid, I will be that fat kid.
I don't like eating Oreos without dipping them in milk because they're too dry.
Absolutely.
And then I'm with you. I eat them in one bite because there's no point in biting down, and then the second part crumbles.
Let's call a spade a spade. Like, pop the fucker in your mouth.
Have you ever done the trick where you slide a fork into the center of it and use that to dip it into the milk? And so smart.
Yeah, I'm like, ooh, look at that total coverage. I'm like all of a sudden a 1980s sportscaster.
Because then you can put it all the way up to the whole cookie's submersed, but you don't get your fingers wet in milk.
That's right.
So smart.
That is pretty genius. I've never heard of that before.
Yeah, that was something, again, I only discovered the last couple of years. I'm like, where has this been my whole life? Do you double dip?
It depends on what it is and whom I'm around, but yes, I do double dip. I think
people should get like so upset when people double dip.
If it's someone that I will share a drink with, if I can be like, hey, can I get a drink off of that? Like, I don't think it's that big of a deal. But if it's like strangers or I'm at a party, no, I'm not going to double dip.
Right.
I'm that person that's like, I'll put the dip on my own plate and then double dip as much as I want.
Yeah.
I'll double dip, I'll triple dip.
I'm a dipper.
Yeah. I'll just just put it in my mouth and do a shot of the dip and just mix it all around and then swallow it. How do you eat your pizza, with a knife and fork or with your hands?
Very rarely do I use a knife and fork. I do try and like pick it up as often as I can.
It has to be like so hot you can't touch
exactly.
it. And even then, I don't really want to eat it.
Or if it's like super greasy.
Or if it's super greasy, or if it like you can't get it to like hold its rigidity to like stay up, like if it's just like it's Little Caesars pizza when they're running on a dough. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
It's just like,
I used to eat when I was a kid. When we went to Sbarro's at the mall, I used to eat the Sbarro's pizzas because they were fucking huge.
They are.
And then it never occurred to me you could fold it in half.
Right, and I
was
met
like,
someone.
you have to eat the whole gigantic thing. No, you can literally fold it in half, hot dog style, and eat it that way.
I met someone a couple years ago that I wanted to get in a fist fight with over this particular reason alone. I had bought pizza for like a group of people, and it wasn't like expressed in any way that anyone was going to give me any money. Like, I just did it to be nice because that's what I was doing. And this motherfucker, who was like not even one of the people that I really wanted to buy the pizza for, like would take 2 pieces and put them together like a sandwich and then eat them like that. And I'm like, you know what, motherfucker? If you really wanted to do that, you could just take 1 piece of pizza and fold that fucker in half.
Yeah.
You don't have to take 2 in the one go.
Yeah.
And like make it seem like your pizza needs are above everybody else's when you're eating on my dime.
Right?
So,
yeah,
I wanted to cut a bitch that day, but I didn't. There was a pool involved, and that was the only saving grace.
How do you eat your leftover pizza, cold or warmed up?
cold to me is room temperature. So what I like to do is I like to get it, like, let it set to room temperature and then eat it at that temperature.
Yep.
If it's coming out of the fridge, I might warm it up a little bit to get it to like an ambient temperature, but I don't try and get it hot again.
Yeah, because it's not gonna. The dough's not gonna be crust. The crust's not gonna be
right. I don't want it to be dry in any way.
Yeah. Is it sad that sometimes if I know I want to eat it later, I'll just leave the box out on the counter?
If I didn't have cats, I would leave shit on the counter.
It's not like an overnight thing, but like if I get it, like let's say I get a pizza at 12 and I'm like, you know what, about 4 or 5 o'clock I'm gonna want another slice, I'll just leave the damn thing sitting out.
Yep. I put it right in the microwave or I put it in the oven where the cats can't get to it, and then it's good to go.
No point. Do you eat your tacos with a soft shell or a hard shell?
I am a soft shell kind of guy.
Yeah.
Or easier. The crunch, I always have that fear that I'm gonna crunch and it's gonna like jab me in the gum.
Yeah, I've had
like
that
you're
happen
gonna,
before, and then like it crumbles on you, and it's just kind of like, what do I do with it at this point?
Soft shells are easier, more
say,
malleable.
You get like one good bite in, and then you're like, okay, now I have to plan how I'm gonna eat this based on how it's cracking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's like every bite's a new game plan, like a new strategy. It's like playing the game of Risk.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. If you're a geologist and really into tectonic plates, I recommend eating your tacos with a hard shell.
Well, this is an interesting question for you because I'm curious to know. Do you ever mix ketchup with mayo?
I know people that have done that, and someone has gotten me to try it because in some situations I'll eat ketchup in the exact same proportion as mustard, but only on like
certain things.
Yeah, like on a fake burger, because we all know I can't eat beef. Well, maybe you don't know in the listening audience, but I can't eat it.
Like a chicken sandwich that's made. Well, that tastes weird.
I don't eat it on chicken. But like Morningstar. Like I used to like a hamburger every once in a while, so like get a Morningstar patty and like mayo and ketchup and mustard. So yes, I guess the mayo does mix with the ketchup. I'm not a big fan of like using it as like a fry dip or anything. I know some people are into that.
Do you eat pickles on your burgers? Are you a pickle person?
I really like pickles, but I don't really like them on burgers as much.
Okay.
I like them on the side. And what I really like to do if I get like a spear with a sandwich or something and there's fries, is I'll actually like drizzle the pickle juice over the fries.
Oh.
And that's pretty good, actually.
All right.
People look at me like I'm a real weirdo when I do that.
Are you a big pickle juice fan? Like, do you drink the pickle juice from the jar?
I really like the brininess of it, but I'm not. I don't drink it from the jar.
It looks like Mountain Dew, and then it tastes.
My mom used to, I'm pretty sure she still does that. She'll just like drink it from the jar.
Pickle juice, pickles and cottage cheese. I associate, and those frozen chicken patties. I associate with your family, so that's what they would eat all the time. Do you eat your mac and cheese with a knife and fork or a spoon? Or sorry, with a fork or a spoon?
I prefer a spoon.
Yeah,
I do prefer a spoon.
Spoonies.
I feel like I can get more in one bite. I'm all about like minimizing the amount of time it takes to eat.
The extra hand movement.
Yeah.
It says you're not weird. Congratulations, you eat food the way most people do. Why fix something that's not broke? You don't like a lot of drama in your life. You just want to keep it simple. April and I both got we're not weird either.
Yay.
I think it was the cereal question that did it. I think anyone who answered
yes,
milk and then cereal
first.
Immediately got the weirdo, regardless of anything else they answered.
That was the deciding factor in that quiz.
Point.
Yeah. Tipping point.
I feel like I am a weirdo with the way that I eat and whatnot, but a lot of that is probably just like the way I perceive myself from having to explain constantly to like my family that's known me for years what I can and can't eat.
Right.
They're like, what? Can't you eat again? I'm like, we've been through this.
My mom's still like, oh, you don't like spaghetti? No, I've never liked spaghetti, Mom. Oh, I thought you liked it. That was your other child. You know, it's just like...
Exactly. That was John, Mom. Again, you're only thinking about John.
The one who used to get up at 2 a.m. and make spaghetti when he was not stoned. And then he would be so not stoned that he would put the trash in the fridge and the food in the sink. Like he would get confused and he would put, like sometimes you have something in your hand and you're not paying attention, and so you like have like the TV remote and you go to get something to drink and you put the TV remote in the fridge. He would do that, but it would only be in the middle of the night when he made food, so you obviously knew something was distracting him.
Yeah.
Something was not right there.
Right. But okay, that's about sums it up.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts?
I consider myself a weirdo.
Yep. I like weirdos.
enough
I think
weird
weirdos are
things.
more interesting than normal people. Yeah, you run the risk of getting a real weirdo who's like, oh my god. But at the same time, I'd rather have a conversation with someone who clearly wasn't on the same plane as everyone else than someone who was like just really dull.
If you
That
want to
just
talk
talks
to me about
about
the
the weather.
Kardashians, like, just jump off a fucking bridge. Like, I couldn't care less.
Like their mind can't fathom things that are right in front of. Like it's like a dog. When you leave their periphery, they don't remember you exist. Mm-hmm. It's like if it's not something that directly affects them that they can't physically see or touch, then they don't think about it. So it's like they never create a story in their mind or enjoy a movie. Like anyone who says they don't like movies, that's a sign.
Yeah.
Something's
wrong.
You're not weird enough.
There's a saying, it goes something like, small people think about like others or people, and then like wise people think about events, and then like the smartest people think about ideas. And it's like really how far you can go into it. Like, are you just based in yourself trying to be like, well, this is how I feel and this is how I think, so this clearly has to be right? Like, no, it doesn't clearly have to be right. Like, I respect your right to have an opinion, but
Right.
you need to respect everybody else's right to have an opinion too. You're
Yeah.
not always right. But if you're putting your ranch dressing on your fries, you're wrong. Damn it, you're so
wrong. And it doesn't matter if you refrigerate your ketchup. That is what we learned
Yeah,
today.
that is what we learned. Also, seek this help of a trained psychiatrist, not a commercial.
Yeah. Don't let Prilosec tell you if you need Prilosec.
And if you got any
Yeah.
fucking foreigners coming in here telling you can't have ice water in the middle of winter, just fucking
You tell
point at that flag.
You tell that European bastard to go back to his country and his lukewarm water.
Point
That's
at one of the
right.
multiple American flags.
In
Go,
this,
America!
in this country, we
You
drink
pick up
ice
your
in our
American
water,
flag napkin.
and we keep our rooms at a cool 60 degrees Fahrenheit because this is America. Ain't no Celsius here, bitch.
Not yet, anyway.
Get in your Vespa and drive yourself back to Italy, you commie. Anyway, the views expressed in this podcast are not necessarily those of... Okay.
Podcast, even though we're the ones telling you.
Well, thank you for joining us, Shane.
Thank you
Yes,
for having
thank
me. As
you.
always, it's a blast.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Hopefully we'll see you in the future. We will, because he's on the next episode. Yes. Dun, dun, dun.
You broke the fourth wall.
This is
Oh,
the first
no.
I've heard about it, so I'm really excited now.
Yay.
Cliffhanger.
Aw. Well, Donka bitches.
Donka. Bitches. Thanks for listening to Podcrashed. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Podcrashed Podcast. You can also check out our website at www.podcrashed.wordpress.com. Email us at podcrashed@gmail.com. We promise to answer your questions. Theme song is by Creo. New episodes come out on Tuesdays. And as always, Donka bitches.